Caitlin Clark just signed a deal that ended careers she never even touched.
But even before she makes her pro debut, she has a major Nike deal on the line.
NBC executives are in boardrooms right now, crossing names off contracts, and those names belong to the same veterans who spent 2 years trying to destroy her. They thought they were untouchable. They were wrong. The revenge isn't coming from Caitlin. It's coming from the people who write the checks, and they've decided the old guard is dead weight. While veterans sit at home fighting over money, Caitlin is sitting courtside at NBA games, shaking hands with legends, becoming the face they wish they could erase. The power shift happened so fast, most fans missed it. But the numbers don't lie, and neither do the empty chairs where 10-year pros used to sit. This isn't about basketball anymore. This is about survival. And the players who tried to gatekeep are now locked outside their own league. Stick around, we're breaking down how karma became a business strategy. The golden goose nobody wanted. When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA draft in April 2024, something strange happened. The league got exactly what it needed, but didn't know how to handle it. She brought 2.4 million viewers to her first game with the Indiana Fever. But those numbers tell only half the story. The Indiana Fever had been one of the worst teams in the league for years. Their average home attendance was around 4,000 fans in a 17,000-seat arena. Ticket prices were dirt cheap because nobody wanted to go. Then Caitlin got drafted and everything flipped overnight. Season ticket sales jumped 300% in 1 week.
And games of the upcoming WNBA season and tickets for the Wings are going fast.
Road teams started moving Fever games to bigger venues because their normal arenas couldn't handle the demand. Here's where it gets wild. The veterans saw those numbers too. They saw sold-out arenas. They saw merchandise flying off shelves. They saw their own Instagram followers going up just because Caitlin existed in their league. But instead of saying thank you, they said stop. Diana Taurasi went on a podcast before the season even started and said that rookies need to understand their place. She talked about how Caitlin would struggle against professional defenders, how the college game is different, how fame doesn't mean success. It sounded like advice, but it felt like a warning. Other veterans jumped in. They started doing interviews where they barely mentioned Caitlin's name, like saying it out loud would give her more power. Once then the game started, Chennedy Carter shoulder-checked Caitlin so hard during a game that it became a national news story. The hit was so obvious, so intentional, that even casual fans who don't watch basketball saw the clip. Angel Reese celebrated it. She clapped on the sideline like Carter had just won a championship. The message was clear. This rookie doesn't belong here. The cheap shots kept coming. Flagrant fouls that referees barely called. Hard screens that happened away from the ball. Players talking trash in ways that crossed the line from competition to personal. Social media posts throwing shade. Podcast interviews where veterans complained about all the attention Caitlin was getting. Some players even suggested that the media was racist for covering Caitlin more than black players who had been in the league for years. The fans noticed. They started asking a simple question. Why are these players mad that someone brought them attention? Because the math was brutal. Before Caitlin, WNBA games averaged around 400,000 viewers on a good night.
With new TV viewership numbers, it says the season that began on May 14th.
Regular season games sometimes pulled less than 200,000. Some games on weekday afternoons barely cracked 100,000. Teams were playing in half-empty arenas. Players were flying commercial because the league couldn't afford charter flights. Now those same arenas were packed. Games were selling out weeks in advance. Ticket prices tripled. Merchandise sales broke every record the league had. TV networks were actually fighting over broadcast rights instead of treating WNBA games like filler content. And the veterans were complaining about it. They compared social media engagement. They looked at jersey sales. Either every single metric showed the same thing. Caitlin Clark was bringing money and attention that the WNBA had never seen before. Yet the players who should have been thanking her were trying to hurt her. NBC was watching all of this happen. Peacock was watching. The team owners were definitely watching, and they were taking notes. They saw which players were embracing the attention and which ones were fighting it. They saw who was good for business and who was toxic. Those notes would matter very soon. The business decision that changed everything, February 2025. NBC announces a massive media rights deal with both the NBA and WNBA. This deal was worth billions. The WNBA portion alone was the biggest contract in league history. Everyone expected NBC to start promoting the league's veterans, the champions, the legends who built the foundation. Not WNBA coverage, NBA coverage. They put her on screen with Vince Carter and Carmelo Anthony during pregame shows. She's analyzing LeBron James and Steph Curry. Meanwhile, Breanna Stewart and Diana Taurasi are nowhere to be seen on NBC's promotional material. Think about how insane that decision really was. NBC just spent billions of dollars on WNBA rights. They could have promoted any player they wanted. They could have built a whole show around the league's history. They could have featured the four-time champions, the Olympic gold medalists,
bronze medalists at Paris 2024.
the players who stuck with the league when it was losing money every year. Instead, they gave the biggest platform to a rookie who had played exactly one season. The veterans were furious. Sources close to the Players Association said some players felt betrayed. They had been loyal to the WNBA for decades. They played through seasons when arenas were empty. They promoted the league when nobody cared. They flew commercial while NBA players had private jets. And now NBC was acting as if none of that history mattered. But NBC executives weren't thinking about loyalty. They were thinking about money. And the numbers told a story that was impossible to ignore. Peacock started rolling out their WNBA marketing campaigns.
So I'm the #1 fan, but I'm the #1 salesperson for the WNBA. I want to make sure that people understand who we are.
Every poster featured Caitlin. Every commercial highlighted Caitlin. The other players became background noise in their own league's promotional content. This wasn't an accident. They tested different promotional materials with casual sports fans. The results were brutal for the veterans. And when they showed posters featuring Diana Taurasi or Breanna Stewart, people barely reacted. When they showed Caitlin Clark, engagement went through the roof. The casual fans knew who she was. They remembered her college games. They wanted to see what she would do next. NBC even tested social media ads. Posts featuring Caitlin got 5 times more engagement than posts featuring any other WNBA player. Comments, shares, likes, saves, every single metric favored Caitlin. The data was so one-sided that the marketing department stopped testing other players altogether. The executives looked at the data. When Caitlin played, viewership spiked. When she didn't, it dropped. Her jersey sales outsold every other WNBA player combined.
Basketball writer Dick Weiss posted that more Caitlin Clark Indiana Fever jerseys were sold in one day.
The Indiana Fever went from having the worst attendance in the league to selling out every home game. Road games saw attendance double when teams announced Caitlin would be playing, but the numbers got even crazier when you dug deeper. NBC tracked minute-by-minute viewership during games. They found that when Caitlin was on the bench, viewers would switch channels or turn off the game. They were watching Caitlin Clark play basketball. This created a massive problem for the league's traditional power structure. The WNBA had always operated on the idea that the collective product mattered more than individual stars. Teams shared revenue. Marketing budgets got distributed across the league. Every player was supposed to be part of the same movement. But NBC's data proved that the model was dead. Streaming numbers on Peacock told the same story. Games featuring Caitlin averaged 500,000 streams. Games without her averaged 80,000. Oh, that's not a small difference. That's the difference between profit and loss. That's the difference between keeping your job and getting fired. NBC made a choice. They thought their championships and their legacy gave them power. But power in professional sports doesn't come from the past. It comes from what you can sell today. And today, NBC was only interested in selling one product when the money stopped flowing. Right now, the WNBA Players Association is in the middle of a labor dispute with team owners. The union wants a 30% revenue share. They want higher salaries. They want better travel conditions. These demands aren't crazy. Other professional leagues give their players way more. But here's the problem. The veterans leading this fight don't have the leverage they think they have. The owners are looking at the numbers. The WNBA lost money for 25 years straight. The league only survived because the NBA kept writing checks to keep it alive. Every single season from 1997 to 2023 ended in the red. Teams were hemorrhaging cash. The average WNBA franchise was losing millions per year. The only reason the league still existed was that the NBA treated it like a charity project. Then Caitlin showed up, and suddenly the WNBA had a real chance to make actual profit. Sponsorships increased by 40% in one season. Merchandise revenue broke records. TV ratings went up across the board. The Indiana Fever alone went from losing $2 million a year to potentially breaking even or making a profit for the first time in franchise history.
Officially a member of the Indiana Fever after has decorated a collegiate career.
The owners know where that money came from. It didn't come from the veterans. It came from the rookie they tried to destroy. Now here's where the labor dispute gets interesting. The Players Association is demanding guaranteed money. They want the owners to commit to higher baseline salaries regardless of revenue. They want charter flights for every team. They want better hotel accommodations. They want marketing budgets that treat them like NBA stars. The owners are sitting in these negotiations, listening to these demands, and they're doing math in their heads. A 10-year veteran making $200,000 generates maybe $50,000 in ticket sales and merchandise for her team. Caitlin Clark generates millions. The math doesn't work. Why would owners pay more money to players who don't bring in revenue? So when the Players Association threatens to strike, the owners aren't panicking. They have a backup plan. They can run a season with replacement players if they need to. They have Caitlin Clark under contract. They have Paige Bueckers about to enter the draft. They have a whole new generation of college stars who would love to play professionally. The threat of replacement players used to be empty. Who would watch a WNBA season without the league's stars? But that was before Caitlin. Now the owners know that as long as they have her, people will watch. They could fill rosters with Division II college players, and as long as Caitlin is on the court, fans will show up.
Clark, another long three. She's back!
The veterans thought they were holding the cards. They thought the league needed them, but the league doesn't need them anymore. It needs Caitlin, and she's already employed by NBC, regardless of whether the WNBA season happens or not. This completely changes the power dynamic. In most labor disputes, players have leverage because without them, there's no product to sell. But the WNBA product isn't the collective league anymore. It's one person. And that one person isn't part of the union fight. She's sitting courtside at Lakers games, getting paid by NBC, whether the WNBA season happens or not. The veterans are starting to understand this. Some players have reportedly told union leaders to back off the strike threat. They're seeing that they're negotiating from a position of weakness, not strength. They're realizing that if they force the owners to choose between paying them more money or building a league around young talent, the owners will choose the young talent every single time. This is the part where the veterans started to realize what they had done. They built a wall to keep Caitlin out, and instead, they built a prison for themselves. They handed the owners the perfect excuse to rebuild without them, and now they're trapped in a negotiation they can't win. Corporate America picks a side. Nike had a decision to make. They sponsor several WNBA veterans. They also have Caitlin Clark under a massive endorsement deal. Super Bowl 60 was coming up.
Super Bowl 60, it will mark the culmination of two dramatic turnaround seasons.
Nike had the budget to run a commercial during the game. The question was, who do they feature? They chose nobody. Nike confirmed to Ad Week they wouldn't run a Super Bowl commercial this year. No Caitlin Clark ad, no veteran player features. Nothing. This seemed weird until you understood what was happening behind the scenes. Nike didn't want to be in the middle of a war. If they featured Caitlin, the veterans and their supporters would attack them on social media. If they featured the veterans, they'd be promoting players with lower marketability and worse public perception. So they pulled out completely. Other brands didn't have the same problem. State Farm, Gatorade, and Wilson all doubled down on Caitlin. Her signature shoe line with Nike is set to drop soon, and pre-orders are already breaking records. Meanwhile, veteran players are seeing their endorsement deals dry up. The corporate world is ruthless. They don't care about legacy or feelings. They care about return on investment. When Caitlin posts on Instagram, she gets millions of interactions. When veterans post, they get thousands. That difference matters to brands. Peacock subscriptions went up 35% during the WNBA season. NBC executives traced the bump directly to Caitlin Clark's games being available on the platform. That's real money. That's data you can't argue with. The veterans wanted respect. Corporate America gave them a pink slip instead. The fallout nobody saw coming, March 2025. Social media is going crazy. The WNBA season might not happen because of the labor dispute. Fans are picking sides. But here's what's really happening behind the scenes. Team owners are having private meetings. They're talking about a scenario nobody wants to say out loud. What if they just started over? What if they kept Caitlin, brought in young talent?
Caitlin Clark all night tonight.
Are you talking about my high school experience? Clark connects!
The young one here.
And let the veterans walk away. It sounds extreme until you look at the economics. A 10-year veteran making $200,000 a season brings in maybe $50,000 worth of ticket sales and merchandise. Caitlin Clark brings in millions. The math isn't even close. NBC already made its choice clear, and they gave Caitlin a platform completely separate from the WNBA. She's on NBA broadcasts now. She's building her brand outside the league that tried to tear her down. If the WNBA season gets canceled,
earlier in the season last year, there was a lot of chatter around it. But as I said, then when we got into the playoffs, people were hardly talking about it. So I think people love the modern NBA.
Caitlin still wins. She's still on TV. She's still getting paid. She's still relevant. The veterans don't have that safety net. If the season gets canceled, they disappear. No games means no exposure. No exposure means no endorsements. No endorsements means no income outside their player's salary. And if the owners decide to move on without them, there's no backup plan. Some veterans are starting to realize this. Quiet conversations are happening. Some players are breaking ranks with the union. They're looking at what happened and thinking maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they should have welcomed Caitlin instead of fighting her, but it might be too late for regrets. What this means for basketball. This story is bigger than one league or one player. What's happening in the WNBA right now is going to change how professional sports work. For the first time, we're seeing a league completely rebuild its identity around a single athlete. The NBA has superstars, but it doesn't depend on just one person. The WNBA does now. Everything revolves around Caitlin Clark. The schedule gets built around her games. The marketing focuses on her. The television contracts prioritize her. This creates a dangerous situation. What if she gets injured? What if she decides to retire early?
Caitlin Clark, who has yet scored. Man, that left foot. That looks very painful.
What if she wants to play overseas? The league has put all its money on one player. And if that player disappears, the whole thing might collapse. But the owners didn't have a choice. The alternative was going back to empty arenas and 200,000 viewers. They chose survival over safety. The veterans are learning a hard lesson about professional sports. It doesn't matter how many championships you won. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the league. The only thing that matters is what you bring to the table right now. And right now, they're not bringing what Caitlin brings. This is going to change how future WNBA players act. Young players coming into the league are watching what happened. They're seeing that talent matters, but marketability matters more. They're seeing that you can't just be good at basketball anymore. You have to be good at basketball and good for business. The game is changing. The veterans tried to stop it. They failed. 22 years ago, Caitlin Clark was just a college player with a deadly three-point shot. Today, she's the reason veterans are losing their jobs. NBC didn't make this decision because they're cruel. They made it because the numbers forced their hand. When one player brings more value than an entire generation of veterans combined, the choice becomes obvious. The veterans had their chance. They could have lifted Caitlin and risen with her. Instead, they tried to tear her down and buried themselves. Now they're sitting at home while she sits courtside at NBA games. The owners aren't coming back to save them. The networks aren't changing their minds. The business has moved on. This is what happens when you fight against your own success. The league doesn't belong to the veterans anymore. It belongs to the girl from Iowa whom they couldn't break, and she's just getting started.